across, of course, just south of Oklahoma City. And there are ongoing tornado warnings, and so we may continue to see more of this kind of thing over the next several minutes here. And where do we want to go next, guys? Let's go back over to Kim and Kelly right now.
All right, Carl, we want to show you live pictures right now from our crew we're thinking this could be along Interstate 35 in Moore, Oklahoma, and emergency vehicles on the scene. Interstate 35 closed in Oklahoma City because of the tornado that moved right across it, taking a direct hit as it moved right across Interstate 35. And as you can see right now, this is KFOR right now looking live at some of the damage in Moore, Oklahoma, and a house fire, thinking this could be a house fire, maybe from a gas leak. And that's why they're urging folks, they're telling folks, you've got to stay home, stay where you are, do not go near this area. They need emergency vehicles to get in there. And already the interstates, the roadways are clogged with cars because they had all stopped trying to keep away from the tornado. Now they're trying to get emergency vehicles in here, and they're having a hard time. So please stay away from this area. This is another reason why you need to stay away, because of the gas leaks, and this could happen. And it's hard to get emergency vehicles in here. Fire trucks. Do you see a fire truck in there yet? It's going to be hard for them to get there. We're going to go ahead and listen back to KFOR right now.
We have obviously a plan on where we go, because I'm never going to be there during a storm. So we got a storm shelter. She goes to it. She knows what she's doing. She did text me she's okay, so that's good news.
That's good. Okay.
I've got some other friends and family here that are okay as well. And I'm hoping the same for the majority of these people right here.
Absolutely. I know a lot of your friends and neighbors are around there, John, and you're doing a remarkable job dealing with that emotion, as well as trying to give us the facts and the scope of the damage there.
Has the situation...
As you can see, Kevin,
Go ahead, John.
Go ahead, Linda.
Has the
situation...
situation...
I was going to say, as you can see, that fire right there is just completely engulfing that house, and fire crews can't get there because they've got more important things to do than put out a house fire. One thing that we hope doesn't happen is these houses are, they're probably about 8 to 10, 12 feet away. Well, they're more than 8. They're probably 10 to 12 on that one right there we're showing you. I'm hoping that it doesn't spread to that and then just kind of leapfrog effect. I'm looking back behind us, and there's some heavy rain, but I think it's going to go north. But as you can see, the fire crews are so wrapped up in making sure everybody's safe and trying to get everybody out that they're just letting the house completely burn. That's how the devastation here. You can't even do your basic job because you're doing so much more and trying to help everybody out. This is definitely some of the worst damage I've ever seen in my life. And I've been to a few Middle Eastern countries. This is especially when this is your hometown. This is where you're from. It's hard to see all this, and these houses are just gone. I mean, the foundation, there's trees, there's nothing. It's just bare ground. It's ripped completely. It's ripped the grass up even. And if it could have ripped dirt up, I'm sure it did. I bet you the elevation's a few inches lower as this storm just tracked from Newcastle all the way to almost Draper Lake there.
You know, we become somewhat cavalier, John, when we hear these tornado warnings, because you live in Oklahoma, it happens all the time. But when you see the devastation like this, and of course the damage that we saw in yesterday's tornadoes and storms, it reminds you have to have a place where you can go underground. It's simply not enough to be in a closet anymore when storms of this magnitude scour their way through our towns and communities and families and neighborhoods.
Well, that's so, and I just put together a story about a fellow who and his family jumped in their closet yesterday with that big tornado that went through. It didn't do much good because the house was picked up and turned upside down, and they're all in the hospital now. So what you said is a very good point. It's amazing that the Warren didn't sustain more damage there, John.
It's over Will Rogers right now. Just let you
He's talking to
he's got a lot going on up there.
Tony Beverly. Tony Beverly runs one of our live trucks. Let's go to him right now. Tony, tell us, first of all, where you are and what you're seeing.
Well, Linda, I'm here off of Southwestern. I'm in between 134 and 149, Southwest 134 and 149. I'm over here near the Orr family ranch, and there's just so much devastation over here. Horses everywhere. There are dead horses. There are structures that are on fire. There are structures that are gone. Trees have been uprooted out of the ground. There's fires all over the place. So it's very chaotic out here at this time. I have with me the owner of this Orr Family Farm with me, and he can give us a little bit more assessment as to what's going on out here in his area as far as his farm is concerned. And so if permitted, I'd like to ask Dr. Orr here a little bit about what's going on.
Well, it's devastation totally.
Okay, so you run this farm here, sir?
Yes.
Okay, so how many, you've lost quite a bit as far as animals. Did everybody get out okay?
Well, as far as we know, so far everybody got out okay. It's just that we have on the Celestial Acres part, we have probably there's maybe 75 to 100 dead horses and some horses wandering around in a stupor. And then Orr Family Farm, which we have thousands of people come out every year, will be rebuilt, but right now.
I want to tell you about this tornado warning that continues here north of the Tulsa area. This is about 20 miles north of Tulsa. Tornado warning for Rogers and Washington counties. And we are still seeing a debris ball on this particular storm. So it's a very well-defined tornado that is now coming right across Route 75. You can see the velocity couplet there showing quite a bit of rotation, very strong rotation now right around the Route 75 region there. And then also coming over into Vera in short order, and we've also been picking up debris on this particular storm. So now it's time to take cover in the Vera area as well as along Route 4000 there and 3500, and it looks like it's going to be passing just to the south of Ramona and Brandon. If we can widen the shot just a little bit. Also want to watch out there in Talala, maybe passing to the north of Ugala. It's passing, moving to the east, but a little north of east. So it looks like it's going to be in Talala at about 4:30 Central Time, then Jamestown at 4:37, and Wingannon at about 4:42. Another very dangerous storm, most likely a large and violent tornado. Now again right on Route 75 and making its way over towards Route 169. This is again about 20 miles to the north of Tulsa, and we're going to have more on this as it becomes available coming up here in just a few minutes. Let's get back to KFOR's coverage of this devastating, absolutely horrible day south of Oklahoma City.
Kids inside there.
All right, this is some of the video we're getting in now of the damage from Moore, Oklahoma, from KFOR. Look at this, complete devastation, completely destroyed. This is live from what I'm hearing. So this completely destroyed. This, whatever this is, I know 2 schools completely destroyed. One, the Plaza Tower School, was an elementary school, and Kelly, possibly some of the students still in there.
We're not sure the status of the kids that were at these schools. We understand that they were hunkering down as the storm was approaching, though. We want to warn everybody, too, that not too far from Moore, there is a severe thunderstorm just on the north side of Moore. Lots of lightning and very heavy rain up towards Oklahoma City, where the kids are now being dismissed and allowed to go home. But again, we're still concerned about more dangerous weather in the vicinity of all this debris that is strewn about.
All right, we're going to listen back into KFOR right now.
The bus routes. So some schools, some schools get out like at 2:15, and then some schools like Morgan, she has to go, and she stays until like I think 3:40, and they're adjusting it every year. So because of the inflow of the students. So I'm not for sure. We're really getting blown around here. I'm not for sure about times of release for these schools here. So they could have been out for the day.
John, thank you very much. We're going to go to Mike real quickly, but let me invite any parents who may have children in those schools. If your children are safe and you know for a fact that they weren't being sheltered in those schools, please call our newsroom and let us know that so we can pass that information along. We've been unable to confirm whether the children were being sheltered in the schools or whether they had already been released. So help us to know that information. Mike.
Unbelievable destruction in Moore, Oklahoma. Damage maybe a mile, mile and a half wide in some cases, and even worse than the 99 tornado that came through on May 3rd back in 99. Again, Kelly, a lot of structures, a lot of businesses completely destroyed. We're getting word even farms that were hit, animals were killed, horses were found dead.
And unfortunately, you know, we're not sure the status of the schools as far as the kids, if they were in the schools taking shelter, or if maybe they were dismissed by this point. That we are still trying to figure out. as we look at this complete devastation by what appears to have been either an EF4, possibly an EF5 tornado that came through here.
Just complete devastation in this area of Moore, Oklahoma. A war zone. I mean, that's the only way you can compare this. And our hearts and prayers just going out to these people, and they're really urging everybody, don't go near this area. You have got to stay away because they've got to get emergency vehicles in here.
Yeah, we're worried about gas leaks. We saw a large fire burning from these aerial shots as well. So obviously fires are a problem that could erupt. And with all that debris everywhere, it's really difficult for the fire trucks to even make their way through the streets. I mean, the roads are just covered. Even the major interstate, Kim, we were watching live at cars just crumpled on even on an interstate.
And thank goodness they had stopped folks from going, because it could have been a lot worse. It could have been rush hour traffic. There could have been so many other scenarios that would have made it even worse. Again, Moore, Oklahoma, hit by possibly EF4, EF5 tornado about 4 o'clock. Their time, maybe on the ground for maybe an hour or so. A large wedge tornado, huge debris signatures. You can see why from this devastation, saying that trees were uprooted, pulled out of the ground. Just horrifying.
And as we look at the aftermath of this large tornado in Moore, we want to warn everybody that we're not even done yet. We still have a tornado watch in effect for this area. We are still dealing with active tornado warnings, actually just to the north of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Carl was actually tracking that for us on the radar, and I don't know if Carl is available to talk about it right now, but he was even seeing a debris ball with that particular thunderstorm. Carl, are you there?
Yes, I am. And yeah, we are still looking at a tornado warning here on this cell that is the same cell actually that produced the tornado there in Moore. Now, the rotational signature is not nearly as well defined as it once was. You can see that there is some evidence of rotation right in here, but we're not seeing a pronounced rotational signature, and that certainly is some good news. What we are seeing is the presence of large hail with this particular cell. We can take a look at the hail tracker. You can see that core of the hail coming up there towards 177. It's going to be passing through Meeker or just to the north of Meeker, indicating golf ball size hail with that particular cell. Also, a lot of lightning with this storm, as you would expect. These supercell storms are very well organized storms, and they continue to roll across areas from just north of Tulsa all the way down to south of Oklahoma City. So there again is the cell that is east of Oklahoma City. That's the same cell that produced this tornado not that long ago. I'm not exactly sure. The exact time of it actually was locally 2:56 to 3:36 local time. So it was on the ground for about 40 minutes. So we're coming up on about an hour since that has happened. So this storm right now, the rotation headed towards Fowler, Jacktown, and Sparks, and Wilzetta, and we have seen these things go through cycles where they get stronger at different periods. So we definitely want to keep a very close eye on this cell. Also some cells off to the south there, south of Oklahoma City. Still some tornado warnings on those. We've got one, and our tornado hunt team actually very close to this cell. Tornado warning for Garvin. That includes Brady, Elmore City, and Foster. And the area that we're going to watch is right in here. That's the southwest side of the cell. And you can see the rotation right through there near Elmore City. And that's going to be heading up towards Route 29 or a little north of that. So let's get back now to KFOR's coverage in Oklahoma City and see what they're saying about this devastating tornado there.
I do have some definition off to my north and east. I can almost see all the way underneath it, I think, Mike. So I'm not for sure that we've got a funnel all the way in contact with the ground, but our winds are picking up just a little bit here as we're getting closer to the circulation. And I do have a lot of rapid rain with it. So the bottom line is, folks, it's created large damage. It's been a long track system so far.
Okay, let's go to the North Doppler control room. I do believe this is on the ground. It's up on those rotating rain curtains. There's Jacktown right there. Here's Highway 62. This is Meeker.
Okay, so we were just watching the coverage there from some of the storm chasers who were following this storm near Meeker, and as we look at it on Doppler radar, we are seeing some evidence of rotation there. You can see right in here some rotation with the cell. There's some cooler air wrapping in right there. There's the inflow notch. So this is the area where we'd be watching for the tornado tornado. If there is one, certainly it's going to be very close to the Meeker area, but not nearly the velocity signature that we saw earlier today. And this is, again, the same cell that came across Moore, Oklahoma. But Brian Norcross is joining me now. And Brian, we've been looking at some of the scenes of devastation there from Moore, and absolutely horrendous. I mean, oftentimes when you see tornado damage, you'll see some areas where houses have been swept off their foundations, you know, maybe a small section of a neighborhood. And from what we saw, it appeared that perhaps there were entire streets that were in that condition.
Yeah, this is going to be a bigger damage path than 1999, and 1999 was spectacular and something that we just so rarely see. I mean, we saw it in Joplin, we saw it in Tuscaloosa, right?
Yeah.
But this looks like a bigger, wider tornado than we even saw in those cases. We don't know the strength, but just looking at it, when you see every building, even manufactured buildings, being wiped off their foundation and ripped apart, you know that it's at the upper end of the scale. This is Meeker. Now, this is to the west of Prague, Oklahoma, and let's listen in on KFOR.
5 miles, so it's right on top of Meeker right now. So folks, take your tornado precautions if you're in this area in the path of the storm, because it's been down or already be on the ground and just a rain raft and not being able to see it. Mike?
Okay, let's go to the storm tracker, talk about this storm further south heading for Pauls Valley. Again, it has to be a balance between continued threat to life and what we have had happen.
All right, so again, we are following this tornado here that is not very far away from Meeker, and you can see right in here, this little notch is where the tornado is located. That's right along 62. Apparently, we're getting some ground confirmation of that. We're not seeing an absolutely tremendous rotational signature on Doppler radar, but nonetheless, we are seeing, at least in the video there, that there very well could be a tornado that is headed towards Meeker. So it's time now to take shelter to get to your safe location in the Meeker area. And I don't know if we can go back to some of the video of the destruction that we saw earlier today in Moore. Now it's just about an hour ago. But Brian, as you mentioned, this was perhaps very different from the Moore tornado that occurred in 1999 because it was so large, maybe looking at a 1.5 mile wide path. And we saw that as we were watching the video. We saw this incredible lowering, and it's absolutely heartbreaking to see, at least in one section, it looked like there were several streets where the houses may have been cleared away. And that's why, you know, in cases like that, if you're not underground, there's almost no safe place to be.
As they proved in 1999, folks that actually did the right thing unfortunately didn't survive that because their house was completely blown away, and we saw that in other tornadoes as well. Once they get up into that upper EF4, EF5 range, and by the way, remember the Moore, Oklahoma was tornado in 1999 was the fastest wind speed ever recorded on the Earth.
That's right.
Because they happened to have those mobile Dopplers out there.
Yes.
It was early in that technology, and this was the first time they deployed them in that way, and they had over 300-mile-an-hour winds. First time and only time that's ever been recorded. Now, we don't know that that's happened here, but as you said, this is a wider tornado path, and significantly wider, it just looks like from the initial aerials here. And you see the damage there. It looks like Joplin. It looks like in that EF4, EF5 range. It's just hard to imagine that everybody got out of that incredibly wide area. There's I-35. We think that's I-35. We shouldn't say, but that does visually look like I-35.
Yeah, we were.
And that makes sense because we know the tornado came over the interstate there, and as it moved just south of downtown Moore.
That's right, and we were looking at the velocity signatures from this storm as it was coming right through Moore. It actually was peaking in intensity right over Moore, and the velocity signatures, and we're looking up a few thousand feet in the air when we look at these, they were indicating that the winds were probably around 200 miles per hour. So we know that at least for a time, the winds that were above the ground were somewhere around 200 miles per hour. So it's certainly not a stretch to think that we'd be seeing wind like that on the ground.
You know, we saw those long track tornadoes. We talk about these long track tornadoes. This was not one of them, right?
Yes.
Right. This was actually a very short track tornado, and as you said, very unfortunately, it peaked over the densest population that it went over. It got spun up quickly. It just roared to life essentially, and became this you know, a perfect looking, just a spectacular looking tornado, and then it dissipated quickly thereafter, but that peak time was over Moore, Oklahoma.
All right, we want to go back now to some of KFOR's coverage.
Where we're told. We just spoke with Dr. Orr, the owner here, and you could see the entire landscape here. This is 106 acres, completely wiped out by the path of this tornado that just tracked right through this area. You can't even tell what any of this stuff was. One of the first questions I had for them when I got out here, I said, "Were these homes? What was this?" You honestly can't even tell it, but they tell me that these were horse stalls out here where they'd store a ton of these horses. A lot of the animals didn't make it through the storm. And then if you look farther off in the distance, you can see homes that are on the other side of this property. So we're talking about just complete and utter devastation out here. And right now, the people that I've spoken to, a lot of the people that are related to the family that runs this farm out here, they're just trying to find some of these animals. A lot of them are in very bad shape. They're going to have to put them down immediately because of just what they went through. But again, when you look across, I mean, if we just kind of pan over here to the left, and you see that plume of smoke. I believe Bob Moore Chopper 4 was over that earlier. And then just you can see the path of how this tornado just kind of came right through here, and it gives you an idea of how wide it was. Because I mean, from where I'm standing, I'm looking hundreds of yards to the south of me, and I can't even see past the devastation, and it's on every single side of us. So you're talking about just a huge path that this tornado just carved right through the center of this farm here, through residential neighborhoods, and then up right through the heart of Moore, really. And again, if you look off in the distance, you can see some people running out there. They're running to go check on animals. People just keep showing up here in tears. I mean, it is just absolutely heartbreaking.
Adam,
the only thing
you're talking about the devastation. Mike Morgan said at one point that twister was 2.25 miles wide. So that gives us some idea of what you're looking at right now.
And Adam, we also got word that between 75 and 100 horses were killed on that farm. And as you said, many others unfortunately will have to be put down especially if they suffer things like broken legs.
Adam, we spoke to Dr. Orr a little bit earlier, and we can see some of the people around there who appear to be employees of Orr Farms. Where did they ride out the twister? Do you have any idea about that yet? I know you just arrived on the scene, but do you know?
Well, when I got here, I immediately spoke to Dr. Orr. He's driving around in a golf cart just surveying the damage, looking for any animals, and he actually had to pull away from us because they'd found some horses that were off in the distance that needed immediate attention. Out here, we can see some law enforcement officers have showed up as well. They're here sporadically, but one of the things we noticed as we were making our way out to this area, the power's knocked out everywhere, so no matter what street you're on, you can't get through. But you just saw this steady stream of police, ambulance, OG&E workers, everyone just trying to get through these areas. I mean, if you could listen real closely, you can almost hear the sirens off in the background. No matter where you're at in this area, it's silence other than the ambulances and the paramedics and the officers just trying to get through here to areas just like this that have been hit extremely hard. I mean, even where we're at right now, I mean, I could see some of the ambulances, some of the firefighters, police way off in the distance. It really, you're lost for words when you see this stuff up close. I mean, luckily, at least here at the farm, what Dr. Orr told me is that there were no injuries. So they must have rode out the storm somewhere safe where they can get underground or that they were away from where this came through here. I'm assuming he told me they've been out here for 40 plus years, so they obviously must have a safe spot that they could go to in times like this. And so luckily, from what the doctor told me, that no injuries, at least to some of his workers or families. So he has nothing to report on that. But again, when you look out here and you kind of just you can't see past any of the damage. I mean, even right where we're at, I'm shocked when they told me that these were horse stalls, because it could have been a house. You really can't tell the difference between any of this stuff out here because it's completely wiped away. It's almost like
if we may,
yeah,
we want to come back to you, but we've gotten some more information about the schools, and of course people are very frantic.
We want to hear actually about what happened with the schools. Can we go back to that real quick?
Now, we can confirm and know for a fact that 2:45, a message was sent to parents on the internet saying we are currently holding all students with the current storm danger until this current storm danger is over. Students are being released to parents only at this time. We will notify you by the same method when students are released, when the student release begins. You need to put this in context. There's no way for these people to communicate down there very much. The Moore Administration building, we're told, was also damaged, so they're going to have difficulty getting word out of that. We have not confirmed any of this with Moore School Administration, but
we unfortunately think that some kids were in those two buildings because of the lockdown order and because of what we're getting from our news desk right now. We will, of course, continue to update you on that just as quickly as we can on that. Right now, let's go to Lance West.
All right. Again, very sad news to report there. They do believe that kids were in those two schools that were destroyed by that tornado. We've been wanting to get confirmation about what was going on with dismissal of these kids. An elementary school was Plaza Tower Elementary was demolished, basically, and another school as well. We're not sure of the name of it, but very horrible news.
Underground shelter in those schools, you know, we sure hope so. We want to show you some new video coming in of some of the damage. I believe we have some of this. There we go. Now we're going to listen back into KFOR.
It is, I've never seen anything like this in my 18 years covering tornadoes here in Oklahoma City. This is, without question, the most horrific I've ever seen.
Okay,
Lance.
Listen, we need to get this information. We understand what you're looking at and how horrific it is, but you are telling us that you have confirmed that children were in the Plaza Tower Elementary School, that the gentleman you were just talking to was pulling out third graders. Is that correct?
That is correct. I'm racing over there as quickly as I can.
All right,
and they did a lot of people trying to help.
All right, Lance, and